Okay, so today we're going to be talking about a nutrient that it's pretty specific, so it's more something that you'll find in our hydroponic department. But today the nutrient is going to be potassium.
Yes. We have discussed nitrogen before. We discussed phosphorus. Now we're going to talk about potassium.
You'll go bananas for this one.
Oh, yes, we will. Intuitively signified by the letter K, potassium is the K in your NPK. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is potassium, Krista?
Well, aside from being the K in your NPK, it is going to do a whole lot for your plant. It's a very major nutrient requirement. That's why it's one of the three macronutrients, as they call it.
So there's macro and micro, and this is one of the most important. This is a macronutrient.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
Along with nitrogen and phosphorus.
Okay.
Yeah. The N and the P.
Okay.
So it does a lot of stuff in your plant.
Okay.
Amanda, it does a lot of stuff. So it regulates the opening and closing of the stomata, which is the little pore in the leaf.
Is that, sorry to interrupt, is that something you can see on the leaf, or is that?
No, it's you can't see them. They're microscopic. You could under a microscope. It's actually really cool.
Okay.
If you Google stomata, plant stomata, there's some really neat pictures, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I might have done it.
Yeah. Maybe. I know what I'm doing later.
Anyway, so yeah, it opens and closes the stomata, which regulates the intake of CO2, which your plants breathe, right? So it's kind of like their lungs. So there's that. And it also, stomata helps release water, extra water in the plant system. So obviously it's very important in the movement of water through the plant as well.
Okay.
Yeah. It's known to improve drought resistance, right?
Yeah.
Tied with water movement, so that kind of makes sense.
I was going to ask, is that something that's going to affect the humidity around your plant? So is this...
Not so much, but the humidity around your plant will affect plant transpiration.
Okay.
So in turn, that affects how your nutrients move around your plant.
Okay.
Right. So potassium is a mobile nutrient, as they call it. So if the soil is deficient, your plant will pull on older leaves to move it where it needs it to be in the newer growth.
Okay.
So as such, when you get a deficiency, it's going to show up in your older leaves first because it's pulling the potassium out of there and moving it up to the top where it needs it.
Okay.
It's involved in the production of ATP, which is a molecular unit of energy currency. We talked about it a little bit in our phosphorus video.
Okay.
Might be a video we actually go into to discuss some of those. That'd be fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is also very, very important in the making of protein and starch. It's involved in every step of protein synthesis, and it activates the enzyme that initiates starch production. So
it's very important.
Very. Yes. Yes. Without it, sad plant.
Okay.
Or dead plant.
You were saying that it will, you'll start to notice any kind of deficiency or something on the older growth leaves. So what exactly will that look like?
It will look like initially a bit of a yellowing around the edges of the leaf. The veins in the middle will stay a nice green, but just sort of around the outside will start to turn yellow and curl a little bit. You'll get some brown crustiness, little drying of the leaf around the outside. Because remember, it's involved in water movement. So if it's not there, water's not moving properly, it makes sense that leaves are going to start drying, right?
Yeah.
So,
So is there a good way to decipher between, a plant being too dry versus a plant having a potassium deficiency? Is there...
Well, a plant being too dry, that's actually one of the things that you do to correct a potassium deficiency is to make sure that your medium is wet enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Because without adequate water, your plant just won't take that potassium up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the things you want to do is make sure you water properly, because sometimes potassium deficiencies will show up if we're just not really good at watering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to
Even
know.
though it's there, it's just not getting up in the plant. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Oftentimes deficiencies will be mistaken for sort of drought or wind damage because it can look very similar with the drying of the edges.
Yeah,
and
by the way you
described
it, that's kind of what it sounds like, but it's good to know that it is related to watering, but it's something you can decipher between the two of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a really easy thing to fix if you do determine that you're actually deficient in potassium. Obviously, the first thing you're going to do is make sure the plant hasn't dried out completely and that you're consistently watering. And if you're not doing that before you add anything, get that under control, just to make sure that, you know, it's not a matter of it being there and not just being taken up.
Yeah.
Because if you add stuff into a pot that already has it, it's going to cause a weird imbalance and strange things happen.
Very bad effect.
Very bad. Very bad cascading effect.
Yes. Okay. So let's say I have my plant and I have a potassium deficiency.
Yep.
Do I correct that by just giving it a regular all-purpose fertilizer, or do I go straight to just get a bag of potassium and add that, or how do you go about controlling the levels there?
I would use a specific potassium fertilizer. Of course, every situation is different. That's the beauty of growing plants, is it's very gray sometimes. So I would start with just a potassium fertilizer. If it's a very, very bad deficiency and you need it corrected right away, something that's water soluble gets into your plant a lot faster than some of the organic amendments.
Is that something that we have?
We do. We have raw potassium, which is just potassium. Water soluble, water it in, immediately available to your plant, and yeah, so it should correct things quite quickly. This liquid sea boost is liquid seaweed.
Yeah.
I bring this up a lot because it does a lot of good things for a plant. It's a liquid form of, well, seaweed.
Yeah.
But it can provide good quick potassium as well in an organic way. So there's that one.
And these are all pretty highly concentrated, right? Like
absolutely.
If I get this, that's going to last me a really long time.
Yeah, this package actually makes, like, I think it says on it, I don't know, 800 gallons or something like that.
Oh,
you only use just a little pinch. Yeah, you don't want to overdo it. So.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's very important to not put in too much, because then you're going to have...
Yeah, more is not always better.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It throws out all those ratios and then other things start going wrong. So. If you like to do things organically, again, there's the liquid sea boost, can be a little bit faster, but you can also amend your soil with a nice sea meal, which is a bunch of kelp and all kinds of goodness. There's a bunch of other good stuff in here too, but it's a nice way to ensure you've got some good potassium and some silica. The two things are related. I won't get too much into silica, but it helps to, potassium and silica together do a lot to help your plant with disease resistance.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so you can get a potassium silicate if you wanted to add the two together and just kind of give you a little bang for your buck. Silica goes in there and thickens up the cell walls as long as you have enough potassium available. So when the two of them are together, they do good things. They actually provide a good, thick, stiff cell that pathogens and bugs just have trouble penetrating. So.
Okay. Yeah. And if anyone wants to hear this information, they can of course come in to Hydro, and
absolutely.
And you're always willing to help out with more, because we only have so much time. So I know we struggle to get too in depth sometimes, but there's the information is always available if anybody needs it.
Yep. If we didn't cover anything in this little video, I think we've given you the basics of potassium. But if we missed anything or it made you think of anything else you want to know, pop a comment in the question, or pop a question in the comments, and we'll absolutely get back to you. Or just better yet, come in and talk to us. We're all happy to educate you.